There is a game that sparked my interest, but it took me a very long time to finally record the video. The game is Myth of Empires, a military sandbox game with MMO elements from Angela Games Studio. You would say that it looks like a regular sandbox game, but it has a number of interesting features that I will be talking about. Myth of Empires is a realistic multiplayer military sandbox game. The events will be taking place not in some fantasy world, but in the 3rd century on the Eastern continent. Players will be walking path from being a lone survivor to becoming a great warlord who leads armies into battles and controls their own empire. And if you smell a hint of strategy games in all of this, you are not wrong. You see, the developing studio Angela Game has another project which is available in Steam Early Access. It is an RTS named Iron Conflict. The game has mostly positive reviews, which you can check for yourselves. This makes me think that they actually know something about strategy games and can deliver an interesting mix of game mechanics. There is a ton of similar games that most of the time stay in early access forever. Let's figure out what differs this game from those. As it was mentioned, after we create a new character, we will have to start from the ground. At this stage, there are a lot of survival elements: gathering, hunting, farming. But the devs apparently are not going to make it all too hardcore. The idea is to lead the player step by step from survival to construction of castles, from being a lone wolf to becoming an army commander, and from lowly position to an emperor. Along the way there will be crafting, gathering, city and castle construction, and in the pinnacle of all that, ability to create your own faction to lead. In other words, the high-end content assumes mass PvP with sieges, territory control and other imperial ambitions. More than that, everything in this game is built and destroyed by the players exclusively. You can argue that we saw this all before. Games like Conan Exiles or Ark. The problem of those games, in my opinion, is that the amount of players is always limited by the server capacity. Here come the MMO elements that Myth of Empires has. Yes, there will still be a typical split on servers. From what we got, the capacity of such a server will be limited to 100 players with a map of 64 square kilometers. But all of these servers will be linked together into one giant world. This allows players to travel wherever they want and forces small local lords to face bigger empires sooner or later. More than that, the devs have big plans to increase the number of servers and their capacity. And to mention private servers, the studio said that they will be focusing on the support of the official servers first. I hope you got the idea. There will be a lot of grand and small politics in this game. And those are rare not only for the sandbox MMOs, but for the many MMORPGs as well. Let's take a look on how the game will operate. The devs mentioned that there will be PvE and PvP servers. As we already know, there will be the ability to change types of servers at any time. PvP servers will have an increased amount of resources, and on PvE servers you will be able to farm and build safely. PvP will have mechanics like truce and other special rules. I am not sure that those rules will include open world PvP, but if they are talking about special rules, then they should. In other words, you will be able to kill people on your will, except at certain times and areas. This all is very uncertain and will probably differ from server to server. I hope that they will allow the guild that is controlling the server to be able to change these rules on their will. Another interesting mechanic is personal troops. Aside from your guild and party members, your army can have a limited number of NPC soldiers. And this limited number can be very sizable when you are talking about the whole guild of players. These soldiers will have similar attributes and skills to players. This means we will be able to gear and level them up. There will also be an ability to create NPC camps that will produce various goods. Controlling those camps will ensure players with a constant flow of resources. Some sort of resource node system, and most likely with no dwarves attached to it. So every player will only have a small squad of units. They will have an ability to give them commands like attack, protect, hold position, and so on. I would love to see how it would work in the siege environment. Will you have to command your own squad by yourself, or will you be able to pull them together with your guild? Another positive moment is that the devs promised the ability for free trade in the game. They said that they do not want to interfere with the game's economy. They would love it to grow naturally. There is no information on the distribution model, but most likely it will be buy to play. Anyway, the game will have to go through the early access first. But there was an announcement of a closed alpha test that will be happening on April 16th and is planned to run through April 23rd. The registration is already open. You can find all the links in the description. Test servers will be in China, NA, Europe and Asia. I am more of a fan of fantasy games, but this game's historical setting is amazing. I love Eastern architecture. Castles built by players look awesome. Maybe in the future we will be able to see the Western continent with its architecture too. Time will tell. That is all. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I am trying to bring more info on the upcoming MMO games, and every subscriber helps.